whether they would send remittances to their home countries. These incomes have been lost with an immediate impact. In many families, these lost remittances were a lifeline, income that saved families from impoverishment. That support has been removed and may not be re-established for some time. Across the regions, we also heard that domestic and workplace violence has increased as women have been trapped in more stressful situations. In one area, calls to hotlines on domestic abuse increased by 162%. Increased child abuse has also been reported. Taking this current scenario, we have the theme Impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on women migrant workers too. I once again take pleasure in inviting our chairperson, Professor Rekha Pandey, and all our participants to this session. Professor Rekha Pandey is an academic activist, professor in the Department of History, and was the former head of Women's Studies in the School of Social Sciences in the University of Hyderabad. The highlights of her career are publication, editing, research guidance, coordination of a large number of projects and consultancies, monitoring and collaborating with NGOs. She has a large amount of experience working with national government, state government, and international organizations. A historical sensibility and a combination of two major perspectives, cultural studies and feminism, influences her work, which covers diverse areas. At a more civilian level, she made consistent efforts at recruiting and empowering women by being involved with various NGOs in different capacities. She has been the founder member of Stree Mela, a society for the development of women, and SEED, Society for Empowerment Through Environment Development, and Women's Association of Hyderabad. He focused on issues related to the minority Muslim community in India and Muslim women, and has been involved with the Rhoda Mystery College of Social Work in designing syllabus for the inclusion of HIV and AIDS at their undergraduate teaching level. She also worked as a National Core Resource Group member of Women Empowerment National Program called Mahila Samakhya in India and was nominated to direct these programs at the All India national level and at the states of Uttar Pradesh, Gujarat, Uttarakhand, Bihar, Andhra Pradesh, and Jharkhand. Professor Rekha Pandey have gained an extensive network of academic and activist friends across the world. Effort in academia, professional service, and activism all these aspects rendering her as an active member, contributor, and an activist academia and the NGO world with attention to issues of gender. We are honored to have you, ma'am, as a chair for this technical session too. Everything is better when it is greener. So believing in that, we have planted a bountiful tree for you at Trees for Sunbathe, Arunachal Pradesh. We welcome you, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much, Indra Reddy, for that wonderful introduction. I think you found it on the net. And when I look at the program, I would really like to thank Poppy for inviting me to be part of this, Sister Amrita and Smriti, because uh, I have been so closely associated with their Center for Women's Studies, and I know Poppy is doing such a wonderful work. Now, I don't want to really waste much time because I see I have been given 2 hours time and there are 8 papers. And most of these papers are talking about the impact of COVID. I just want to make 1 or 2 points and not go into detail. I'll take it up later on if we have time. See, migration is a reality today in the world. Everyone, any group of people, they are always looking at new opportunities to better their lives. Many a times people move out of areas where they do not have enough employment opportunities, where either there is a disaster or a conflict. But unfortunately, what has happened that the kind of, patterns which you have in migration, all over the world, people are moving from one place to another. South Asia has lot of factors which play a part in this migration, looking at agricultural modes of production, looking at family system, marriage, etc. But the kind of studies which has happened in migration, they are very gender blind. Though, so many women are migrating. Unfortunately, till 1970s, most of the migration was understood to be only as male migration. It was only after 70s that you had some kind of a writing which was focusing on female migration. Now, women have also had a lot of impact because of migration. It definitely improves the autonomy, human capital, and self esteem of these families. When we are talking of equitable social norms, it really impacts a lot on women's right. I still remember there was, National Geography had conducted an interview and it had brought out a beautiful article on the slums of Dharavi. Many of these families had migrated from rural areas. They had huge open spaces, they had open courtyards, they were living in such open spaces, and here they were living in a shanty town in a small space. And yet, many women said they were very happy because one, they got a lot more freedom in the urban spaces than in the rural spaces. And they were able to lead life in their own terms. So, they were very much welcoming it. Unfortunately, what happened because of the pandemic, suddenly, we had the reverse migration which took place. See, migration is always from the rural area to urban area. But this time, you had, because of the social and economic cost, because of the lockdown which happened, there were so many travel bans that were there. We stopped all international flights, international people could not reach India, and even the local trains, etc., were closed. And therefore, you suddenly had these groups and groups of migrant people who were moving into the rural areas. So you had a reverse migration. All of us know for a fact the kind of images that we have, in this domestic migration. In fact, millions of people, it had never happened after partition of 1947. They were trying to reach home. The trains were not there, many of them were walking, and we heard all these stories about these people trying to reach their home. There was a utter failure on the part of the government to anticipate the need of these groups. And the women had to face much more issues. Security was a major issue. They were not getting enough food. Imagine women looking at health, hygiene. There was no way they could manage all this. And it had a lot of impact on people. Now, as the COVID situation is easing down, we will again have another kind of migration of people coming back from the rural areas into the urban areas. And we have to really be prepared for this. So, this is an issue that really needs a lot of serious discussion. And I'm very happy that, I'm chairing this session where I have 8 papers. And without now, spending more time, I would invite Kalpana Krishnaya to come and present her paper. She's talking about impact of COVID-19 on migrant women. I invite Kalpana, and I'm sorry because there are 8 people, I'll be only giving you 10 minutes, and we will have a discussion at the end of this. People can ask questions. Fine, Kalpana, you're there? Hello, Kalpana? Is Sunita Rani there? Kalpana is not there. What about Sunita Rani? Sunita, can
Ma'am,
you
Kalpana, yeah, Dr. Kalpana is there, but she need to unmute herself.
Okay, okay. Kalpana? Kalpana?
Yeah, 1 second, ma'am. I'll just make host. Yes. Kalpana, ma'am, you can unmute yourself. You are the co-host now. Yes.
Okay.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm Dr. Kalpana, Women's Studies Center, Project Associate Teaching Faculty from Sri Krishna Devara University, Anantapuram. And today my topic is effect of COVID-19 on migrant women. At the outset, I want to congratulate St. Anne's College, Mahadipatnam for conducting such a wonderful topic in this pandemic. And I just want to start my PPT with the permission of resource person, Professor Rekha Pandey. Shall I start, ma'am?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Ma'am, on 24th March 2020, the central government of India imposed a lockdown and closed businesses when cases of
Kalpana, ma'am, you have unmuted yourself. Please unmute yourself. Yeah, yes.
And Maharashtra has the largest number of migrants. Most migrants in the country originate from Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Rajasthan, and Madhya Pradesh. The cities of Mumbai and Delhi attract the highest number of migrants, which most men migrate for work, women migrate due to marriage. Next slide, please. Next. Yeah. Now, what was the major effect of COVID-19 on migrant women? Indian migrant workers during the COVID-19 pandemic have faced multiple hardships, with factories and workplaces shut down due to lockdown imposed in the country. Millions of migrant workers had to deal with the loss of income, food shortages, and uncertainty about their future. Following this, many of them and their families went hungry. Thousands of them began walking back home with no means of transport due to the lockdown. In response, the central and state governments took various measures to help them and later arrange transport for them. More than 300 migrant workers died due to lockdown with reasons ranging from starvation, suicides, exhaustion, road and rail accidents, police brutality, and denial of timely medical care. Next, please. Next slide. A rise in come back, please. Back. Yeah. Stop there. Next. A right. Next, please. Yeah, stop. A rise in domestic violence. In response, the NCW has also recently launched a WhatsApp number, making it easier for women to ask for help alongside a helpline and email option. India's falling female labor force participation rate, the additional burden of care, girls' education and nutrition. These are just a few examples of how pandemics often heighten gender inequalities and affect men and women differently. Disasters expose and intensify the systematic and structural cracks in the current system, and lockdown has shown that gender blind policies to worsen these issues and leave women and girls more vulnerable than ever. Next slide, please. Now, how are the girls and women affected by coronavirus? Disease outbreaks increase girls and young women's duties caring for elderly and ill family members, as well as for siblings who are out of school. Girls, especially those from marginalized communities and with disabilities, may be particularly affected by the secondary impacts of the outbreak. Gender-based violence and coronavirus. Economic stress on families due to the outbreak can put children, and in particular girls, at greater risk of exploitation, child labor, and gender-based violence. Quarantine measures should be accompanied by support for affected households. Next, please. Next slide, please.
Yeah, 1 second.
Current situation, vulnerable populations, guidance, resources. Stay-at-home orders further isolate women with violent partners. Data shows violence against women and girls has intensified during the COVID-19 pandemic. Strained health systems responding to COVID-19 patients cannot serve victims of violence. Next, please.
I'm so sorry, I'm having some connectivity problem. It's 1 second.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
A closer look, the shadow pandemic violence against women and girls. Globally, 248 million women and girls have been subjected to sexual and or physical violence perpetrated by an intimate partner in the previous 12 months. Next, please. Now, due to this pandemic and coronavirus COVID-19, I have just given a few examples of women or girls who took some major steps, a glimpse of report. Now, Jamla Magdam, a 12-year-old girl, Adivasi girl, she walked from home, Chhattisgarh and fields of Telangana. She walked 140 kilometers in 3 days and finally collapsed due to exhaustion. A new video showed how a woman migrant gave birth on the road before continuing her long, seemingly endless march home after just a few hours of rest. Women, children, and men sat squatted with their heads bowed in a big group outside a bus stand as masked figures with PPE suits sprayed bleach solution used to disinfect surfaces at these migrations on their way home from New Delhi to Bareilly, Uttar Pradesh. A television journalist posted a video clip of a long line migrants walking home at night somewhere outside Delhi on her Twitter account. In rhythmic unison, they loomed out of the dark into the camera light and back into the dark. I begin to count the number of women in the group in salwar kameez and rubber chappals with large heavy canvas bags balanced on their head. They walked steadily past the camera without even a sideways glance. Another migrant woman, she was spotted dragging a large wheeled suitcase. Thousands of migrant workers gathered in a 70-acre salt pan in Vasai. 35-year-old Avrina Khatun collapsed and dies. 15-year-old Jyoti Kumari cycles. And now I want to share some pictures which show the vulnerable position condition of the migrant women and the normal women who have to migrate from one place to the another place because of this COVID-19. The first picture shows the migrant women. The second is the women climbing a bus. And next, a woman crying with a baby. And the next picture is a woman fallen down and nobody is to help her. She is in a helpless condition. Next is the migrant women. They are sitting with their bags, don't know where to go, what to do. And the next picture is they are carrying their luggage and they are going to their own places. The next picture is poor needy women has been given food in front of Delhi Congress office. And then this is very explanatory that women in, I can't say her woman or a girl, she's 21 years old, Suganya Prakash, and she carries her baby. She starts her day with a breakfast and with a ball pen and a pen, and she attend daily 250 houses to know whether who is positive, who is affected with COVID-19, and she want to help the municipal office in Chennai. Next, and there are some recommendations what the government should take to help women and girls, including domestic workers who have lost their jobs. States need to provide the same level of assistance and social protection for the unemployed, sick leave, income support, wage subsidies that they offer to their nationals. Governments must include measures to address gender-based violence and child protection in COVID-19 response and recovery plans, and ensure that plans are gender and age responsive. Girl and youth-led groups should be safely and meaningfully involved in the development of plans.
Excuse
And
me,
health, yeah. One second.
left, ma'am, please.
Health service. health services should given more to young women, girl, and for the sexual and reproductive health services. And thank you, one and all, and Rekha Pandey ma'am for giving me this opportunity, and the organizer of St. Anne College. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kalpana. I know I feel very bad that people prepare so much for a conference, and we have to really rush through it. But you can understand our problem
Yeah,
also.
yeah.
Anyway, we will have a discussion at the end. Now I invite Sunita. Sunita,
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Yeah, hello.
yeah, please.
Yeah, thank you, ma'am. So, my paper is titled as COVID-19 Pandemic and Socioeconomic Effects on Women Migrant Workers. So, in this presentation, broadly, I would focus on role of migrants in countries' economic growth and what are the outcomes of lockdown measures on women migrant workers, and what are risks and challenges faced by women migrant workers in view of pandemic. So the crisis of COVID-19 has influenced the present global order not in terms of altering the territorial boundaries, but in its capacity to impact global political economy. The outbreak of the virus has exposed the ineffectiveness of global economic regimes to protect life. The effects of the pandemic are not just visible on the health front, but more on economies that ensure survival and sustain life. To contain the intensity of the pandemic and reduce transmission, governments have taken drastic steps such as border closures, shutting down of businesses, social distancing, travel restrictions, and lockdown. As migrant economy largely depends on the factors of mobility and networking, it is important to understand the effects of lockdown on migrants that calls for restrictions on their mobility. The impact of lockdown measures has exposed the frontline nature of work mostly carried out by migrant workers by laying bare the ways in which socioeconomic inequalities impact marginalized sections more than other groups. The role of gender cannot be sidelined in this discussion because it has a more prominent role in determining chances to growth and or access to migration opportunities. Hence, the impact on women migrant groups is more severe than other sections of working class. Before understanding the effects of virus on women migrants, I would seek your attention on role of migrant workers in economic growth and why they're important in this study. So migration or mobility is a key strategy for human survival, adaptation and growth. An overwhelming majority of migrants are immigrant population are in migrants. Human development data reports reveal that internal migration is higher than international migration, especially in the case of India, where state economies are heterogeneous with varied demographic characteristics that offer ample work opportunities to in-migrants. See, several school of thoughts provide different perspective on driving force behind cause of migration. For instance, neoclassical and classical models emphasize that labor migration is caused by expected and actual wage differential between regions. However, they miss to address the other potential factors that shape migration decision and impact on source economies. This limitation is being addressed in the work of modern scholars who emphasize that migration is also influenced by push from behind and pull from appealing prospects in front. These push factors may involve like poor income, economic opportunities, lack of social safety nets and welfare measures in state of origin, while pull factors may involve rising income opportunities in a state of destination, better incentives, poor availability of social safety nets and welfare measures, with desires to upgrade living standards of themselves and migrants. Thus, migration is understood to be a key force in alleviating poverty and unemployment levels, since remittance sent by migrants to families help increase the saving and consumption power, and human capital contributes to growth of local and national economies. Thus, migration helps keep productivity high and promote sustainable development through transferring of funds, skill, and human capital. This discussion indicates that how migrants are important in countries' economic development and emphasize that labor migrants are backbone of any boosting economy. As migrant domestic workers make up a large proportion of women in migrants, the paper limits focus to migrant domestic workers or paid care workers. Studies reveal that women in migrants who are majorly involved in informal sectors having low paid jobs and no social security with no alternative earnings are the hardest hitting sections of under COVID-19 pandemic effects. The COVID-19 crisis has left stranded millions of migrant workers during lockdown period, while those who return to homes are constantly living under economic uncertainties and with fear of recession. Currently, there are about 67 million domestic workers around the world, among whom 80% are women and 11.5 million are migrants. According to the reports by media service and NGO studies, there are about 20 million domestic workers in India. A large proportion of them are women in migrants traveling from different states like West Bengal, Tamil Nadu, Jharkhand, and Uttar Pradesh. These women in migrants are composed of two categories of live-in and live-out workers who travel from rural areas to urban center in search of better livelihood and increasing income opportunities. Thus, domestic worker is an important part of Indian economy and is mostly predominated by poor and skilled women, migrant workers across cities. The invisible, unregulated, unrecognized nature of this sector, characterized with precarity, low pay, verbal agreement, indecent working condition, and no social safety net, has exposed the sector to ill effects of COVID-19, who are experiencing the harsh effects of the pandemic with no income in their hands and even less likely to get jobs in post-lockdown period as well, due to the poor state of local businesses and disrupted service that shelter labor migrants. The restrictions on their mobility and closing of borders to curb the transmission of the virus has put this class of workers into risky position, since many of them are being dismissed by their employer due to fear of possible transmission. Uh, Due to their involvement as frontline care workers in private and public care system, employers began to see them as carrier of virus, which led to their stigmatization by employers. Uh, on the other hand, those who are asked to resume their services in aftermath of lockdown are more at risk of contracting the virus, as they may be assigned to take care of ill patients without being provided protective gears. Moreover, live-in domestic workers are more vulnerable to the effects of pandemic, as losing a job may mean losing an accommodation for them, which may arise as a bigger challenge in the pandemic like situation, since everybody is instructed to stay indoors. COVID-19 is thus not just endangered their economic autonomy and caused unemployment among them, but also exposed them to multiple health risks and multiple health risks like mental and physical pressure, burden on their mental and physical health, and domestic violence that are termed as shadow pandemic or pandemic within pandemic. Thus, the job crisis generated among women migrants as a fallout of COVID-19 pandemic has pushed them back to the homely affairs and thus widening the gender inequalities by risking their economic independence. Many domestic workers have complained of abuse by their partners in case of losing a job, which constrains their ability to contribute to family income, or due to alcoholism, which is the second highest factor of rising case of domestic violence against women. Thus, domestic workers are therefore most exposed to violence, harassment, brutality, forced labor among informal migrant workers, as public invisibility of their services provide them with no legal protection from governments and leave them to the whim of the employers. With largest involvement of women in migrants in domestic service, the pandemic is testing time for these workers concerning their access to health and survival. Lockdown has threatened their family survival by issuing direction to stay away from work from prolonged period, especially in the case where domestic workers are single breadwinners in the home. The Domestic Workers Action Network and initiative Martha Farrell Foundation revealed that 95% of women domestic workers have not received their salaries since the implementation of lockdown in March 2020, while many others are dismissed from their job. Looking at this discussion, I just would conclude my presentation here by mentioning that global care economy, for instance, tourism, hospitality, health workers, and domestic work is thus adversely affected by the COVID-19 crisis. And domestic workers and migrant domestic workers are the worst hitting sections of informal workers. Migrant domestic workers who already face challenges of gender-based discrimination, wage gap, unskilled activities, unhealthy work condition are now facing a new pattern of challenges through their exposure to the virus, economic insecurities, gender violence as a fallout of pandemic. Besides, while governments have taken several steps to reduce the severity of effects of pandemic, such as subsidized rationing, prepared meals for stranded work migrants, portable social security, these are least successful to completely reverse the socio-economic effects faced by women or migrant workers. Hence, the twisting and churning of Indian migrant economy under the lockdown effects has exposed the hidden gap in the country economy and development of the country. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you very much, Sunita Rani. That was a very nice presentation. And I think when you were talking about the push and pull factor and the kind of impact this has had, I think it really needs a lot more discussion, because the kind of impact this has had. But you have really raised some very important points. And now I call upon the third speaker to make a presentation. And I think this is, we have Dr. Atikur Rahman, Gulbarga. Is he around?
Hello.
Dr. Atik.
Yeah. Hello. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
Rahman. Okay.
Good afternoon, ma'am. Good afternoon.
He's going to speak
Yeah.
on the impact of
Hello.
COVID on migrant workers.
Yes. Yeah.
Hello.
Impact. Myself, Dr. Atikur Rahman.
Yeah.
My presentation title is Impact on the COVID-19 Pandemic on Migrant Women in Domestic Work. The paper expression of the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on the migrated women in domestic work. Migrant workers have a right to information related to the extent of the COVID-19. It is expressions health risk, the health and safety measures of the migrated risk, and how to access the medical care and other social services of the domestic work sector was already one of the most marginalized. Latest protest of the latest values of employment sector, the working of condition of the many migrated domestic workers, capitalized by the incidence of the violence. Now, due to the many migrated domestic workers movement of the response to importance of the continuous across the world to try and help up the COVID-19. Women domestic workers are often the pleasant or even the most promising project how to global health and crisis of the workers. After the pleasure of even migrated project how to the global health crisis and both applicable the dynamics of the credit or generated based on outside. The demonstrated impact upon the migrated women and domestic work. The study of the health, social and domestic care services that women migrated worker provided the considered the essential during the pandemic. The pandemic of the subculture of the movement restricted have actually expressed of the frontline nature of the much of the work carried out by the migrated work by lying and baking of the way in which economic, social and structural implementation impact upon the some groups workers of and migrated more than others. So thank you, ma'am.
Okay. That was Dr. Atik Rahman, and though he was talking of domestic workers, I wish you could have, the paper will become very rich if you look at the kind of services they are providing. See, one of the major problem with domestic workers is there is no unionization, there is no fixed salary. And then, many of them are coming from rural areas. They live in very shanty places there. So, there are a lot of issues related to health and hygiene. These are some of the aspects that can be highlighted. Anyway, thanks a lot. Now I invite CS, Vindhya and Meenakshi. They are going to also speak on impact of COVID on the migrant workers. Are they around? Vindhya?
Yes, ma'am. Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Where are you all from? Just introduce yourself.
Ma'am, I am CS Vidya, PhD research scholar from IIFPT Tanjavur, Tamil Nadu.
Can you just clean your screen? Your image is very blurred.
Sorry,
it's not.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Better. Ma'am.
Yeah.
So I'm CS Vidya, PhD research scholar from IIFPT Tanjavur, Tamil Nadu, ma'am. My research topic, my topic is impact of COVID-19 on migrant women workers. So migration is an integral part of evolution closely associated with the human civilization. The word migration is derived from the Latin word migrate. So it means that a movement of individual from one place to another in search of food. So an innocuous sale of animal meat in Wuhan market had turned the world economy to an unpredicted viral infection that is COVID-19. Apart from affecting human health, the pandemic challenged malnutrition. So the migrant women workers in India, they constitute about 80% of the total labor force in India. nationwide declaration of lockdown from 25th March 2020 to August 2020 has worst affected migrant labor force. So the lockdown decision has driven these people jobless and helpless. Many of the migrant women workers had to walk hundreds of kilometers from different cities to their native home places. So the migrant workers mostly they work in small industrial units like garment, textile industries, gem polishing, shoemaking, and construction work. And the migrants are the backbone of healthcare systems, such as they work as doctors, nurses, scientists, and entrepreneurs. So the women migrant workers, those who work in these sectors, they feel insecure and they have a low-paid job as domestic workers and also cleaners. So the domestic migration jobs are either seasonal or temporary, while international migration jobs are somewhat reliable. So the next one is key migration trends. On 4th September 2020, 20 countries with the highest number of COVID-19 cases, they accounted for nearly 32% of the total international migrants, and the total remittance estimated at 37%. So the 1 in 9 people around the world depend on remittance sent by migrant workers. So by the COVID-19 pandemic, they lost their jobs and have difficulty in sending remittance during the shutdown, and it greatly affected the recipient dependence. Post-national lockdown impact of coronavirus on women migrant workers. The migrant workers who are backbone of the informal sector, they felt insecure and trapped during the pandemic. Migrant workers living in the crowded housing are highly open to risk of getting infected by coronavirus. So migrant workers living in slum houses or areas without employment, they were driven out by their house owners when the lockdown period was declared. So hunger and uncertainty, as well as messages about the deadly coronavirus, it frightened them, and they desperately started the journey to reach their native homes. Malnutrition. Due to lockdown, there is an increase in malnutrition, which led to young populations infectious to COVID-19 and eventually child mortality rate. The World Bank, they reported that the role of PHCs and Anganwadi workers against undernutrition has played a vital role. ASHAs are social health activities. They played a major role in quarantine period as they monitored the health service schemes provided for women and children. Nutrition in pandemic in India. In the pandemic crisis, food supply is affected by transport restrictions. Health service schemes like clean water supply cannot be accessed by the migrant, leading to water insecurity. Panic buying and hoarding has resulted in increased prices and storage of food supply. So women migrant workers already holding insecure jobs, they are excluded from social protection and insurance schemes. Lockdown hunger needs adequate policy measures to enable people to access safe and nutritive food. Strengthening small farm diversification and local food value chain. So small family farms observing more labor were affected badly by lockdown, resulting in shortage of production of pulses, millets, tubers, vegetables, and fruits, and livestock like production like egg, meat, and milk. Then food loss and food waste management. Marketing of food products by small farmers has been drastically affected by lockdown. By procuring food produce from the farmers directly by the government, they can help in promoting employment and food availability. Affordability of nutritious food. So the lockdown hunger needs adequate policy measures to easy access of safe and nutritive foods. Children already suffering from acute malnutrition are now living in homes without any medical care and adequate nutrition. So some suggestions are to be able to cope up with COVID-19 crisis. Steps that are to be taken should be like allowing forest foraging visits by tribal women that will help in increased collection of carrying of nutritive forest food free of cost. Women volunteers can be absorbed in people movement as envisaged in Abhiyan to focus on feeding infants, young children, pregnant women, and lactating mothers. The loss and wastage of food production across the value chain must be minimized. The government can distribute the procured food through midday meals and integrated child development schemes. Surplus women labor can be employed in to carry out all these schemes. To envisage a healthy India, consolidated relevant data to be collected to find out the morbidity and mortality arising from malnutrition and infectious diseases. A nutritious low-cost diet will reduce the risk of diet non-availability. Effective implementation of adequate take-home salary for children and pregnant women is very essential. Food distribution system to be strengthened. Child feeding practices and nutritional counseling are to be reshaped. Employers, individuals in all sectors of the country employing migrant women workers must ensure that they will provide decent work, additional necessary support, and providing flexible working arrangement, paid leave, housing for migrant women workers in self-quarantine, and supplying food and other essentials and healthcare during the pandemic. Providing immediate economic relief to all workers, including migrant women and men, for income replacement measures such as cash transfers, micro loans, and deferring existing loan payments. So focusing on the women and children nutrition needs, specifically by the help of mobile phone technologies, usage led to the increase in continuity of food distribution and counseling. Anganwadi and primary healthcare workers focused on sending nutrition messages using mobile phones. School-based nutrition services like mobile cash transfers of money are provided for parents having young children. It helps them to provide healthy, nutritious food for their children. Next is steps taken by central government. To combat the COVID-19 crisis, India's National Nutrition Mission, it delivers food to millions of communities. Under lockdown procedures, supplements are delivered directly to people's home. Pradhan Mantri Garib Kalyan Yojana through public distribution systems and social security benefit, direct benefit transfers in the form of cash benefits help the migrant laborers to withstand adverse conditions. NGOs provided food packets for migrant workers as a support measure to improve the nutritional status. Grocery kits like containing rice, oil, spices, pulses, vegetables are home delivered. Migrant families are registered as beneficiaries for ration in their place of work, but not in their home. So to combat this state and to meet the grave challenge, the central government has announced the One Nation, One Ration card all over the country from 1st October 2020. So under this scheme, eligible beneficiaries would be able to avail their entitled food grains from under the Nutritional Food Security Act from any fair shop using the same ration card as a measure. Nutrition-centric programs like child development services, midday meals are going on even though Anganwadi centers and schools might not open soon. So states like Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Odisha, they have responded well by providing by dry rations from door to door. On 12th May 2020, Indian government, they have announced a $260 billion economic stimulus package. It is very beneficial for migrant women workers. Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act has done a tremendous job in providing work to those affected by the pandemic crisis in rural areas. So the minimum income schemes providing Indian rupees 500 to meet the heavy decline in income. The central government also, Government of India has also embarked on a massive operation involving naval ships and aircraft in a phased manner to bring about standard Indian in 13 countries. The Ministry of Home Affairs has prepared chart for the evacuation of over 14,800 Indian nationals stranded in 13 countries by 64 flights from India. So those flights from India will fly to Philippines, Singapore, Bangladesh, UAE, UK, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, USA, Oman, Bahrain, and Kuwait.
Can you give your conclusions? Can you conclude?
Yes, ma'am. Also, several steps were taken by Tamil Nadu government, like Amma Canteen and Vrunnavagam, providing meals for subsidized rate to serve the needy. Dry ration for 15 days is being provided in advance to families to meet the nutrition requirement of Anganwadi children. And senior citizens served by Anganwadi centers are provided with food at their place of stay. So as a conclusion, at the time of unprecedented pandemic crisis in India must mobilize all policy tools at its disposal for the protection of most vulnerable population, that is migrant women workers. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Vindhya, for that wonderful paper. She brought a new dimension to all this discussion because she also focused on food and nutrition, saying that, you know, how this really impacted the migrant workers when food prices shot up, etc. So maybe we'll come back if there are questions. Thank you very much. Very nice paper.
Thank you very much.
Can I call upon Dr. Mallikarjun Nagashetty from Gulbarga University?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, please.
Respected chairperson of the session, and good afternoon to all. Myself, Dr. Mallikarjun, guest lecturer, Department of Women Study from Gulbarga University, Karnataka. My topic is impact of the COVID-19 pandemic on women migrant workers. Around the world, migrants are the backbone of the healthcare system and thriving economic as a doctor, nurse, scientist, researchers, entrepreneurs, essential worker, and more, and are the front line of the COVID-19 response. Already grappling with interacting forms of the discrimination and inequality, women migrant workers face gender-specific restriction in migrant policies, may have limited access to culturally sensitive, essentially health services in different languages, and are more prone to abuse and sexual and economic exploitation with movement measures both with nation and across border. Women migrant workers are also more likely to hold insecure jobs in the informal economic, especially in essential but low paid jobs as domestic workers, cleaners, laundry workers, generally excluded from social protection and insurance scheme. This leaves them with limited or no access to healthcare, lost income benefits, and other social and economic safety nets. For many of the 8.5 million women migrant domestic workers, the pandemic has led to loss of income and job, with their health, safety, and well-being often ignored. The economic downturn has left women migrant workers sending fewer remittance, a lifeline for families and communities in their countries or origin, especially during time of crisis. Today we have seen 14 crore migrant population in India. There 4 crore in construction field, they work in construction field, 3.5 crore work in manufacturing unit, and 1.5 migrant worker work in textile field, and 2 crore work in home as a home worker, 1.5 crore working in agriculture field, and 60 lakh like as a labor, common labor like hamal. And challenges and risk for women migrant workers are loss of livelihoods. The International Labour Organization estimates that global unemployment figure could rise by almost 25 million as a result of COVID-19, affecting the income security of women and migrants and the wider community. Women migrant workers are reported to be losing their jobs in large number in some sector. And second point is stress on care and domestic workers. Women migrant domestic workers are the particular risk of losing their jobs due to COVID-19, as they tend to be in informal employment, often unregistered and excluded from labor protection. The lack of assistance and protection mechanism for women migrant domestic workers, their social isolation due to language and cultural differences, and the limited availability of accurate information, their vulnerabilities during the pandemic. And third point is third challenge and risk for women, migrant women, is lack of social protection and health care. Migrant women, particularly those working in the informal economic, have limited or no access to social protection, healthcare, and maternity protection because they are generally excluded from contributory social insurance scheme. Women migrant workers lacking with insure or with irregular migration status may be to comply with COVID-19 screening, testing, and treatment procedures due to fear of documentation checks by authorities and potential fines, arrest, destination, or deprivation. And fourth one is violence against women migrant workers. COVID-19 COVID-19 women migrant workers increase the risk of sexual and gender-based violence at all stages of migration, particularly migrant women with irregular migration status or sexual and gender minorities who are least likely to report violence due to discrimination or fear for arrest or deprivation. Past epidemics demonstrated that women and girls, including migrant women and girls, were at the risk of gender-based violence. And lastly, I recommended some points. Domestic violence has skyrocketed because of forced coexistence, cramped and confined living conditions, economic stress, and fears about constructing the virus. This is intensified for migrant women who struggle with language barriers and lack of accessible information to access essential services like health, police, justice, and social service, which have in turn been several by COVID-19. Second, migrant women may be forced to live with potential and may not be able to live abusive relationship because of travel restriction, quarantine measures, or job loss. Migrant women and girls who experience gender-based violence struggle to access healthcare and essential support services owing to restriction on movement, closed clinic, and fear of constructing coronavirus. Women migrant workers in the health sector are at increased risk of sexual harassment and violence in the workplace due to the serious stress that the pandemic places on patients, their relatives, and other healthcare workers. For example, in China, frontline healthcare workers, many of whom are migrant women, reported increased level of physical and verbal attacks. Last one, the potential of sexual exploitation and violence by state official and armed guards abusing their power over migrant women at border crossing has increased. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Dr. Malikarjun. You raised a number of points, talking about domestic workers, talking about health issues. You also spoke about violence and sexual harassment, which happens. So we'll come back to you for discussion. Can I call upon B. Sucheta? Is B. Sucheta around?
Ma'am, we are not able to connect her.
Okay. Then can we go back to what about
Mrudula? Yeah, Mrudula is there.
What about this Narmada?
Yeah, Namrata and Aishwarya also, we are not able to contact her.
Okay, then let's start with Mridula.
Yes, ma'am.
She's looking at a general study of the lives of women migrant. Okay, fine.
Can you see my screen, ma'am?
Yeah,
we can.
A general study on lives of women migrants and workers and their issues in the wake of pandemic. Poverty, war, natural disaster, Poverty, war, natural disaster, and environmental ruin, unfair cultural practices, and violence against women are just some of the factors that are pushing women to migrate to other countries in search of employment and a better life. However, women are not only being driven to leave their homeland due to unfavorable conditions, but also attracted to the possibility of achieving economic independence. Some countries are displaying a demand for women workers based on stereotypical beliefs about women's sustainability for certain tasks. Based on the ill-conceived beliefs of women's submissiveness, appropriativeness for simple repetitive tasks, being inexpensive to employ and easy to control, International Labor Organization estimates that 50% of the total migrant workers are women, whereas it can go up to 70 to 80% in other countries. In the face of lockdown, report shows that women face domestic violence at alarming levels, and the risk of awareness and education makes the situation worse. Consequently, women migrant workers tend to be on limited occupations, such as working on the assembly lines in factories, in sweatshops, and cleaning and serving in hospitals, restaurants, and private residences. Once women do decide to embark on the journey of migration, they are prone to experience serious right violations at every stage of migration process. Some women will experience discrimination even before the departure due to their country of origin having imposed bans or restrictions on migrating based on gender, age, marital status, pregnancy, age of children, or maternity status. During transit, some women face sexual and physical abuse from the agents or escorts before reaching into the country of destination. Arriving in the country of destination is when women's expectation can be quickly destroyed, often simply due to lack of proper information on the migration process and on employment opportunities. Unprepared women migrants can immediately find themselves in the country that have formal legal restrictions or bans on female employment in certain sectors. In addition, informal discrimination is justified based on religion or tradition in the country of arrival, resulting in funneling of female workers into the informal sector. The informal sector is largely made up of jobs over which there is little or no official control. In certain jobs, they are not even defined as employees under the laws, thereby being deprived of the protection that are available to recognized employees. An example is regularly seen in the factories that manufacture and supply the products to multinational corporations. Due to the absence of any binding contracts, workers may face forms of discriminations such as working for long hours without overtime pay, working in overcrowded, unsafe, unsanitary conditions with limited access to health services, suffering sexual and physical abuse, and sleep and food deprivation. The COVID-19 has been traumatic experience for many people around the world. People lost their job in turn their livelihood for most people. As the lockdown restrictions across the countries were put in order to deter the spread of virus, people were compelled to stay at their houses so as to take care of their health. Women who earn their living as domestic workers, casual laborers, street vendors, and small scale services like parlor services, and so on, were forced to shut down the business and return to their native places with no assurance of present or the future. During the COVID-19 pandemic, many migrant workers used all possible means to reach their destinations. Many of them are, however, stuck at borders including state, district, and national border areas. These are the most marginalized section of the society who are dependent on daily wages for the living and in times of distress need sympathy and understanding of the society. Immediate concern faced by such migrant workers relate to food, shelter, healthcare, fear of getting infected or spreading the infection, loss of wages, concern about family, anxiety, and fear. A recent sub-regional report was made on rapid gender analysis during COVID-19 pandemic. The report highlights the commonalities and differences across the countries to provide a regional perspective in the impact of COVID-19 on women, men, boys, and girls. The report placed a specific focus on migrant workers working in garment factories, ethnic minorities, people with disabilities, and people working in the informal sectors. It was observed that women had huge responsibilities on managing their household and taking care of their children. They struggled to pay for their loans, lower salaries, and job loss. Losses have led to the reduction in remittances being sent home for migrant workers. Most of the women and girls are employed in the industry that exposed them to COVID-19, like the health, tourism, garment and textile industries, and other informal services. Loss of income combined with the need of using hygiene related products implied selling their assets and spending their savings. Women and girls experience more burden due to gender norms that require them to clean, cook, and do household works. Girls from the rural and ethnic background are impacted due to social cultural barriers. Cultural practices are the doubts over the continuation of education and learning. The report also shows that the women are burdened by the domestic work, increased financial difficulties, and lack of sanitation facilities. The female labor force participation in India has been declined from 34% in 2006 to 24% in 2020. The pandemic has affected the food availability for families, especially the migrant families. 51% has less food to eat, and 34% of migrants could not afford the food. These are some eye-catching points which we saw during the COVID-19 pandemic. Zamla Mankam, a 12-year-old girl, traveled 140 kilometers for 3 days and collapsed due to exhaustion and fatigue. Another migrant woman on her way to home in Madhya Pradesh was spotted dragging a large wheel suitcase in the national highway with an exhausted toddler sleeping on it. Women and children were beaten by police in Vasai. They are now homeless. The next day, a 58-year-old woman standing in the long line collapsed and dies under the blazing sun.
So we collected data from ILO, UN, and some data from newspaper for the analysis. This is a data on sex composition of migrant workers in percentage. As of 2019, there are about 41.6% of female migrant workers, and the trend we observed here was that the share of male migrants drastically increased. Next slide, please. Yeah. The next table is about percentage of women migrant workers in different regions. In East Africa, Djibouti has 31% of women migrant workers, whereas Kenya has 38% of women migrant workers, with their mean age being 33. In North Africa, Libya has 32% and Tunisia has 30%, with their mean ages being 30 and 28. In West Africa, Burkina Faso has 39%, Mali with 20%, and Niger with 30% of women migrant workers. In Asia, India has 40% women migrant workers, with their mean age being 33, and Indonesia and Malaysia have 34% and 33% of women migrants, with the mean ages of 29 and 27. The mean age of women migrants is 30.5, which means that the average age of women migrant is 30.5. Now we have collected data from Mixed Migration Center from the file Impact of COVID-19 on Protection Risk for Refugees and Migrants. For this, about 3,600 respondents were interviewed between 2nd July and 30th August 2020, with 170 interviews conducted in East Africa, North Africa, West Africa, and Asia. The respondents report that, next slide please. The respondents report that the risk of abuse or rights of violation has increased, or rights violation has increased since the pandemic began, supporting the argument that COVID-19 crisis is a threat multiplier. In all regions except Latin America, women are more likely than men agree that pandemic has increased the risk of sexual exploitation. Next slide, please. When asked about domestic violence, the highest number of women from Asia, 64%, agreed that domestic violence has increased. More than 40% agreed that the domestic violence has increased in all regions, with more than 50% women agreeing in all regions except South Africa. Next slide, please. Measures to be taken. The policymakers and other stakeholders in every country must adopt a gender-sensitive approach in developing labor migration laws, their rights and policies. Migrant workers who have lost their jobs must be aided properly by introducing schemes and ensuring that they get their benefits. They also need to be protected from the deadly virus, and for that they need to be tested and provided adequate healthcare facilities. All migrant workers, regardless of their status, must have equal access to the medical facilities. For example, Colombia has permitted its Venezuelan migrant population to access healthcare during the crisis. They also need to be the migrant workers who have lost their jobs, including the domestic workers, must be provided with the same levels of protection and assistance that is given to the citizen, and can be recruited as additional health workers to help and support the struggling health systems. Next slide. We conclude that this brief explores the multidimensional impact on women migrant workers, highlighting that COVID-19 is not only a health crisis, but also a crisis with detrimental effects on freedom, violence and harassment, employment, income, social protection, access to services, and access to justice. The labor force has declared from 2006 to 2020 by 92%, and economic gender gap is larger than political gap in India. Gender gap and traditional roles have sidelined women, and with increased reporting of lack of security, sanitization, and lack of finances. According to ILO, about 50% of migrant workers are women. According to Mixed Migration Center's report, about 59.7% Western African women reported increase in sexual exploitation during the pandemic. In normal circumstances, women migrant workers are at a risk of multiple intersections of discrimination. The crisis has emphasized the importance of sanitization, personal care, and protection to the lower sections of the society. So relevant measures must be taken for the same. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrudula. I'm very impressed that though you are a student, you have taken this effort. And please take my advice as a teacher talking to a student. And see, whenever it's a beautiful presentation, you put in a lot of work. But for future, I want you to, you should always ask yourself, why are you doing it? So this will lead you to certain research questions. Whenever you do a paper or anything, why is it that you are researching? So if you ask that question, it will lead you to 2-3 questions. And how will you do it should be the second question. That will lead you to methodology. How are you going to study this? Are you looking at newspapers? Are you looking at interviews? Are you looking at other kinds of published material? And then your analysis and conclusion. It was a wonderful presentation, and only thing, try to make it little short. In a slide there should be little matter, but it's a wonderful try from a student, and I'm very happy that Poppy has been able to even involve students into this. Okay, thanks a lot. Do we have others present, Poppy?
I think it is over, ma'am. We can go ahead with discussion. Yes, ma'am.
And
it seems they have some connectivity issue, so
okay.
they are not able to present it.
Yeah. Does anyone want to ask any questions? Any questions to any speakers? Since there are no questions, I think it was a wonderful session, and I'm very happy that we had a lot of presentation. There were finally 8 presentations present, and most of them were looking at the impact of COVID on what it was on migrant women. Lot of issues came up, and especially there was a lot of discussion on it. There was discussion on sexual harassment, violence, how it impacted. Lot of the others spoke about the difficulties in travel, which are somewhere talking in terms of the push factors which led to it. So, I'm really very happy. I'm very pleased with, listening to papers of Kalpana, Sunita especially, and Bindya did a wonderful paper. I'm also very happy with Mrudula's paper. So one thing, like I mentioned, whenever we talk of migration, migration is something which always happens. People always want to improve their life. They move from a lesser developed country to a more developed country, lesser developed region to a more developed region. So we already have so much of migration, and majority of them are women. Unfortunately, the kind of studies which have taken place, we don't talk about women migration. We somehow assume the migrant is always a man. What happened in the pandemic was there is a reverse migration which takes place. You had people moving from urban areas into rural areas. And since, transportation was not there, there was a lockdown, food supplies were not available, many of them started walking. It was a huge mass of people that were walking. And though, both men and women suffered equally, women, because of the other additional social constructions of gender and how we look upon women, they had to face much more brunt. Violence is something which affected them more. Health and hygiene, when they are not able to take care of it, was something which impacted them more. Even women who are very old, who are made to walk all these distance. So it impacted women in more ways than other. Okay. So I'm really very happy to chair this session, and I'm very happy to look at all the papers that were presented. Okay. Thank you very much. Fine.
Thank you, ma'am. Poppy, you want to tell something?
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you so much for chairing the session.
Okay. Very wonderful.
So we almost have come to the end of the session. Yes, ma'am, please. You are saying something.
I said you're having another session after this?
No, ma'am. Tomorrow we have the next session.
Oh, today it ends?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can I talk to you? I was thinking, see, you should now collect all these papers.
Yes.
Have they sent it to you, or they'll be sending it to you?
Yeah, they have sent the full papers.
Oh, you should try to bring it out like an edited volume.
Yes, ma'am. We are thinking that. Yes.
Yeah, you should seriously think of bringing it out like a book. Some papers were good, some were not so good, but others were really nice.
Yeah, we will send a guideline again so that if they want to revise, they can revise.
Fine.
After this presentation only, we will send the guidelines.
Okay, good. Wonderful.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation and taking time and giving us time today. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, see you all then. Huh? Bye.
Indira, ma'am? Yeah, you can take over.
Okay.
Yeah. Gratitude is the most exquisite form of courtesy. So on behalf of St. Anne's College for Women and Center for Women's Studies, I extend my gratitude for accepting our invitation and sharing your valuable thoughts with us, ma'am. Thank you for having you for this wonderful session.
Thank you very much.
I would like to thank all the participants for their wonderful presentation and taking appreciation from the chairperson. And I would like to tell you all that tomorrow we are having a third technical session 3. I request all the participants to join the meet with the same link at sharp 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye.
Yeah. Shall we wind up, Poppy?
Yeah, I'll just end the meeting.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you all the participants. We'll see you tomorrow at 11 a.m. sharp.